Hey everybody, welcome back to For the Meeple, by the Meeple. My name is Mike Carpenter and today's episode is all about Witness. Witness is a 4-player only cooperative game that kind of resembles the old game Telephone. Players are going to be collecting clues and then whispering these clues to one another in an attempt to solve a case. Let's check it out. Alright, here is Witness. As you can see, most of the components are booklets, but there are some standees. This standee will be used to move across the round tracker, and there is a notepad where each player should receive one piece of paper and a pencil. Now, a game of Witness is played over 5 steps. The first step is case. Now, one player is going to open up the case booklet to one of the 64 cases in the book. All of the names of the cases are on the back of the book here, and they're colored by difficulty. I'm not going to show you the actual cases in the book so I don't ruin any of the content, but each case has 1 page worth of information that one of the players is going to read aloud to all the other players. Once each player has had an opportunity to kind of adequately memorize the information from the case, they are not allowed to write it down. They have to memorize the information from the case. Then play will move to step 2. Step 2 is clues. And each player is going to take their personal booklet and open it to the same number of case that was chosen and read aloud, and look at the personal clues that are given to each player. These clues are different for each player, and there's usually between 1 and 3, sometimes 4 little pieces of information you need to remember. Again, that must be memorized. It cannot be written down. Step 3 is whispers. The whispers step is going to occur over 4 rounds, and the rounds are going to be tracked by this standee and this little tracker in the middle of the table. Now the tracker has 4 spaces on it, and it has each space has each of the 4 different players and a little arrow that tells you which player is going to be whispering to which other player. So in the first round of whispers, the blue player is going to be whispering to the yellow player, and the green player is going to be whispering to the red player. Now what happens here is the blue player and the green player are both going to get up out of their seat and go to the appropriate player and whisper their personal clues into each player's ear, or with their partner's ear. The person receiving the information is not going to be allowed to speak in any like ask any questions or speak in any way to help the communication. They should just simply listen to the information provided. Once that's done, players will sit back down and play will move to the second round. Now this space has the yellow player speaking to or whispering to the green player, and the red player whispering to the blue player. Now at this point, the blue player and green players, the ones that whispered in the previous round, only know their personal information, so they only know 1 clue. But the yellow player and the red player are both going to know 2 clues, their personal information and the information that was whispered to them in the previous round. So what they're going to do is they stand up and go to their appropriate partners, is whisper not only their own personal information, but all of the new information that they received as well. So now, once they sit back down and play moves to round 3, now the blue player and the green player are going to have several pieces of information, and they're going to get up and move to their partners, which are again now yellow and red, as the same as in the first round, and whisper all of their information again to their partners. Play will continue like that for the 3rd and 4th rounds, and then when play gets to this space on the round tracker, which is a pencil and the image on the questions booklet, play will stop momentarily. All players will take their pen and paper and mark down as many notes as they remember from all the whispering. And that's round 4. It's just simply note-taking. There's step 4. Once everybody's had a few minutes to write down their information that they remember from the whispering, play will go to the final step. And the final step is just questions. So one player is going to take the question booklet, open it to the case that has been played throughout so far, and ask 3 questions. Each player is going to look at their notes. They should not collaborate on this. and write down the answers to each question on these little spaces at the bottom of the notepad. Once everyone has had an opportunity to answer all 3 questions, play will move to the solutions portion of step 5. And all that happens here is one player again opens to the appropriate case and reads the 3 answers to the questions that were asked from the question booklet. Each player is going to mark whether they've got each question correct or not, and then to decide the result of the game, essentially, they're going to count up how many answers were answered correctly from all 4 players. So if all 4 players got all 3 questions right, the team would score 12 points, and they could consider the case a success. 10 and 11 points total is also a pretty good high-level success, and then 9 and low are not quite as good, and you shouldn't consider the case a success necessarily, and maybe you could play it again later. Again, play is completely cooperative, so once that's complete, the team either wins or loses as a whole, and then players can either progress to the next case or be done. And that's how you play Witness. Well, there you have it. That is Witness. It is definitely different than any other game I have in my collection, and that's because it's not necessarily a board game, it's more so an activity. And I feel like sometimes that label of a game being like an activity can seem negative or be used negatively towards a game, but I think Witness takes an already accepted activity of that telephone game you played as a kid or even now, and fine tunes it into a what resembles a game, but has that activity feel. So I think it's okay. It's very good in this particular instance. Where this game shines for me is that it will create laugh out loud moments, guaranteed. Whether you are the person that makes the mistake or you're the person that receives the wrong information, or somewhere along the line information is going to get mixed up, miscommunicated. There's going to be errors in your communication, and it's going to, if you take the game lighthearted as it I think is intended to be taken, you're going to have a good time. You're going to laugh at those mistakes. If you are interested in a challenge, I'm not saying the game's easy. If you're interested in a challenge, you should definitely look at this because it is very difficult. It gets left out of the discussion of most difficult cooperatives, but this one's up there. It definitely is. It has a different approach towards that difficulty, but it is by no means easy. The highest rated difficult cases in the case booklet are tough. It's not just a memorization activity at that point. You have to figure out exactly what your clues are trying to tell you and piece them together with everyone else's clues while trying to remember all of that information. So it is definitely a challenging game, and that in some regards has been a little bit of a deterrent to some people on the second play. The first time that you introduce this to someone, very easy to convince them to play. If you have a very difficult time doing well, it can maybe deter some people from wanting to try it or play it the second time, but very easy the first time. My only personal drawback to the game, and this is what affects the rating of it, is that it has to have 4 players. There may be some variants to play with less, but I personally think you would lose the appeal of the game or the charm of the game if you played with less. So it's hard for me and my group and typically my family to get this one off the shelf, just simply because we don't have 4 all that often. We seem to have 3, or we seem to have more than 4 in a party setting. So there's that drawback. That's personal. If you have 4 regularly and you you might like having an activity type game, this is definitely one to look at. So that is Witness. I give it a 6.5, more so for my lack of ability to get it off the shelf, not because of the design. The design earns every bit of that 6, if not more, but I just can't get it off the shelf quite enough. So I hope I have introduced you to a game that maybe is outside your normal perception of board games and how they can be played. I hope that this is something that maybe you are interested in and want to give a try, because it's not all that popular of a game, but I think it deserves more love than it gets. So give it a try if you're interested. It is definitely unique, definitely enjoyable. That is Witness. Thanks again for watching. As always, if you have any comments, leave them below, and I will see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.